In this video, I'm going to show you how to use a zero fret. It's called a zero fret because it's not counted as one of your frets because it's acting as the nut. So let me take you inside of my messy shop and show you what I've got going on. This is the neck I'm working on right now. I have all the fret slots cut, and I have the slot cut for the zero fret as well. And if I tilt it this way, you can see the depth of the regular fret, which is going to be a medium fret that will be going all the way down, and then your zero fret here. And you can see the depth of this fret and the zero fret, and how much deeper the slot is with the zero fret. And I'll show you why that is in a second. Now here you can see the zero fret here and the regular fret here. And you can see how the tang is a little longer on the bottom than this one here. And you can see how much bigger the zero fret is than the regular fret. So you want to make sure you cut the slot deep enough for your zero fret. Now what I use to cut my fret slots is this fretting saw here from Sheffield, England. And what's nice about this saw is on this side it has what they call a depth stop. You loosen up these two little screws here, and this piece of plastic goes up and down to set the depth that you want to cut your slot. Now the way I use this saw to set the depth for my fret wire, in this case it's going to be the jumbo fret, I loosen this thing up so it slides, and I'll take the fret and lay it right on top of the blade like this, where the tang is pointing down toward the depth stop. And I get the depth of the fret wire, the tang right there. And then I just move this to the bottom of the fret or close to it, and when it's right there, then I just tighten these little screws and I'll cut my slot, and it's always perfect. And if you want any information on this saw, I'll leave a link below. You can check it out if you like. Now once I have the slot cut, I take my jumbo fret wire, and because I have a slanted headstock, I'm going to put this little piece of wood under there so it doesn't put pressure on my headstock right there. And I'm just going to take the tang, put it in the little slot there, and we're going to pound it in. Just like that, and I'm going to cut it off. Okay, the zero fret is installed. What I'm going to do now is go ahead and fret the rest of the guitar, and then we'll get back to the fret, because this video here is focusing just on this area right here, the zero fret and what's going after the zero fret. So I'll be back once this is fretted. Once I have all the frets installed, I take a file like that, and I'll just put an angle on it like this, and I'll do both sides of the neck. Switch it around, do the other side. Then I take a small file like this. Now this one has teeth on this side and teeth on this side, but no teeth here and no teeth here. And then I'll just take it on each side of the fret, go all the way down one side and then down the other side. After using the small file on all the ends of the frets, then I take 1000 grit sandpaper and just hit the ends. Nice and smooth. Well, this is what the finished neck looks like so far. I have boiled linseed oil on the fretboard. I've got a nice gloss finish on the oak neck and headstock. And you can see the frets and the 0 fret. And if I show it to you this way, you can see how much bigger the 0 fret is than the regular medium frets. And it sits up just high enough so it gives you great action across your whole fretboard. As long as your guitar is set up good down there, your action will be good through the whole guitar. Now for this little demonstration, I've got a piece of guitar string here, and I'm going to put it over the 0 fret as if it was being strung up to this first peg right here. So it would go like that, and your string would go over the 0 fret like that, which looks beautiful until you start playing and bending your strings, and then this is happening. String is going all back and forth on your 0 fret, and we don't want that. I know some of you are thinking, yeah, Michael, we don't want our string flapping all over our 0 fret. What do we do? Well, I'm going to show you what I do. I'm going to make a string spacer with this little bone nut blank, so each string goes straight to its tuning peg. And I'm going to show you just how I do it. Now, let me start off by saying this bone nut is 2 inches long. It is 1/4 inch thick this way and 3/8 of an inch thick this way. And it is perfectly squared on all sides. Now to make a string spacer, you don't have to use a piece of bone. You could use a little piece of hardwood as well. Now the first thing I want to do is cut the piece of bone the length that I need, which is about 1.5 inches. So what I'm going to do is just mark this right here, and I'm going to cut it right there. Now if you've never cut a piece of this bone before, like a bone nut, it's very hard. I would use some type of saw with very fine teeth so it doesn't chip. I'm going to use the bandsaw. I'm going to show you how I do that. You could use a scroll saw. I have it marked right there, and when you cut it or sand it, it has a very unique smell. Well, this bandsaw does have very fine teeth on it, and I've got it marked right there, and I'm just going to cut it to length. My guitar neck has a slanted headstock, as you can see, and where my fretboard ends right here, I made sure I left at least a little over 1/4 inch right there for this little piece of bone right there. Now if you're using a guitar neck that does not have a slanted headstock, you can do the same thing. Just wherever your fretboard ends, make sure you have enough room for your nut. And a suggestion I would make would be, if you do any filing or sanding or shaping, always shape the top and never sand the bottom, only because the bottom is perfectly squared. You can see that. It's perfectly squared. If you put it on the belt sander, it's a possibility that it will go off square and then it'll kind of wobble in here, and you don't want that because that's sloppy, and nobody likes sloppy. Now you can see my string spacer right here and my 0 fret, and you can see the height of the string spacer. It's pretty high over the 0 fret, and I don't want it to be that high. I want it to be about level or just a hair bit higher than my 0 fret. So what I'm going to do is take a pencil right along my 0 fret or the nut, and I'm going to draw a line right across this piece of bone here. Now this is going to be a little more tricky because you see that little line there. I'm going to try to take the top of that piece of bone off using the bandsaw. Now if it's not perfect, it's okay. I can shape it a little bit on the belt sander because it's the top. Like I said, I'm not going to be touching the bottom, just the top. So I'm going to try to cut it right now. Well, I took this little piece off the top of that. kind of chipped on the end a little bit, but it's okay because I'm going to fix all that with the belt sander. I'm going to level that and I'm going to round it over so it looks nice when I put it on the guitar. Well, I'm here at the belt sander. I'm going to try to flatten this top part out a little bit and shape it a little round on one side and see how it fits on the guitar. Something like that, and I will hit it with some fine sandpaper just to get all these sharp little edges off, and we'll see how it fits. Well, that's what it looks like right there, and you can see it's just a hair bit taller than the 0 fret. The string spacer works perfect in keeping your string straight as it goes over your 0 fret. I would never recommend cutting grooves in your 0 fret because that could cause fret buzz right here and some fret buzz through here. If you file your 0 fret down a little too much, you might have some string buzz there. The next thing I need to do is to mark the piece of bone for the slots for the strings. What I do first is I like to mark where the fretboard is hitting the spacer, which is right there. Now this bone spacer is exactly 1.5 inches wide. So what I'm going to do first is to mark it right in the center, which is 3/4 inch, right there. And then I'm going to mark it 1/2 inch on either side of the middle. So it'll be a line here and a line here. So I have my 3 strings marked right there. Now since this is a slanted headstock, the strings are going to go through the spacer like this, but then they're going to angle down that way. So I have to make sure that I cut these slots deep enough so the string really isn't touching the bottom of the nut or this spacer. It's just kind of gliding through the slot there. So I'm going to go cut little slots about 1/8 inch deep, and then we'll see how that looks. And this is what it looks like. Now because I drew on it with pencil, you just take a little eraser and all that pencil marks comes right off. And there it is. It's finished. Fits just like that. What I'll do is I'll put a few drops of super glue here, a few drops on the bottom, and I'll just hold it in place till it sets, and it's good to go. And if your string slot needs to be a little wider, you can always take an old piece of string, use it as a file, and just file that hole or slot a little wider. This string spacer will be glued onto this neck right before I put the strings on, but I do have one already finished that I'll show you. This La Aroma box is already finished, and it does have a 0 fret and a string spacer, so I can show you what it looks like when it's finished. You can see how nice the action is. Very nice. Awesome. Now that, my friends, is how you use a 0 fret. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and let me know what you think about the 0 fret. Drop it down there in the comments. How about a little outro on this guitar with a 0 fret? I'm tuned to an open G, and my pick is brought to you by Chick-fil-A. If you would like to know when I post new cigar box guitars to my website, make sure you join my mailing list at southernfireguitars.com. From the backwoods, my name's Michael, and I'll see you in the next one.